Good morning, Seller Sessions. It's a wonderful morning here in San Diego, California. Isabella Hamilton with Rang Bell, and I have with me a very special guest, Mr. Ty from NFTY Labs. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, you're not very far from me, right? You're what,
No,
Orange County?
yeah, it's like, 40, 45 minutes, 50 minutes.
And you're an early bird. We just found out, right?
I am now.
You are now. So this is not usual for you to wake up this early to do a podcast.
Maybe not to do live streams this early, but I'm here for it. So
Oh, I love it. You got the hat on. You got your makeshift the standing desk. You
yeah,
got your white room. You're ready to rock it. I love it. I met Ty and his partner Lawrence last week at a crypto event, and I just like fell in love with what these two guys are doing because I think they're shaping the future of NFTs. And I bagged Ty. I'm like, you have to come on my podcast, and he honored us here with his presence today. And for that, I am very, very grateful. Thank you, Ty. Tell us a little bit about who you are before anything.
sure. I'll try to keep it pretty brief, but my name's Ty. I'm the COO and co-founder at NFTY Labs. We started NFTY Labs over a year ago, actually, late 2020. But even before that, I started in the crypto industry in 2017. Late 2017, actually became a what we would call a permanent bag holder from investing at the top of the market. You don't typically want to do that, but in my scenario, that I just got introduced to it, and I jumped in. I got introduced more so to the technology side, which is another funny phrase that we all say in crypto, which is you come for the money, stay for the technology, which is not by purpose sometimes. But that's what happened. I got into the technology. I got really just kind of enamored with all the different challenges that blockchain presented, but also solved. And then I ended up traveling Asia for 9 months in 2019, got to meet a lot of influential crypto people in Asia. And then, like I said, came back to US in 2020, and we got back to the grindstone, so to speak, my CEO and I, Lawrence Digital, and tried to figure out what we were going to build next. And we came across the idea for verifying digital asset ownership to return some sort of what we call Web 2 function. And we'll get into more of what that means, but essentially we could prove that you own an NFT and then return some sort of, maybe a ticket to a physical event. Maybe that's access to a private Discord community or even Telegram. So that's just kind of a quick little background on me.
I love it. What made you go to Asia? Was that in your plan? Okay, I know there's a community of crypto kings over there, or how did that even start? Or you just wanted to travel? It just happened that you stumbled upon some crypto fans.
That's a good question. So I actually originally had the intention of going to Asia without even any knowledge of my CEO and his travel plans to Asia. I didn't even know him at this time when I had come up with the idea to go to Asia. One of my older brothers, half brother, he still lives in the Philippines, but he has a house in Thailand, and he was always telling me yeah, Southeast Asia is so amazing. And I saw it and I really wanted to go. And so I decided to quit my job as a T-Mobile manager, store manager, and that was in 2018. And yeah, I just packed up my bags and flew out to, it was supposed to be a flight directly from Atlanta to Manila, but I ended up having a canceled flight in California. So I had to stay a night in California, which is where I actually met my CEO, Digital Lawrence. We met up in Santa Monica, and he gave me this idea for one of the original products we worked on. And then from that day forward, we just, continue to work together. And then I ended up going to the Philippines and a bunch of other countries in Southeast Asia and Asia for 9 months. I met up with Lawrence there actually in Singapore. And then from there, we just went to all these different conferences. And Lawrence himself, he knows CZ, the CEO of Binance. If you ever heard of that name before, he knows him personally, and a multitude of other crypto Asian networks, which is very unique actually in the US sphere. Not a lot of people have those connections. So.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet.
Right. Wow, this is so incredible. I love how everything kind of fell into place for you. Like the fact that you had to like stay here for a day and then met with him and how everything worked out. So do you feel like Asia is a little bit ahead of US when it comes to this whole crypto and NFT world?
You know, in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. So, like Southeast Asia, for example, in terms of adoption for NFTs and crypto, they are going to be like the leading frontier. The primary reason is not because they're necessarily building the technology, although there's some of those companies are out there, like the Philippines and whatnot. But it's actually primarily because all of the users are benefiting from NFTs and just NFT technology, crypto in general. For one, remittances. It's an easy one. Okay, I can send, USDC, which is a stable coin, from one wallet to the other, from US to Philippines in about, I don't know, less than a minute. And I can send, thousands of dollars at a time without any problems with any kind of wires, any remittance services, like Western Union, for example. So that's one thing. And that's just on the stablecoin side or remittances. Then you have companies like Axie Infinity that are developing games where you can actually earn and own the assets that you have in game. So you can actually own your characters as NFTs. You can sell those on secondary markets if you want. But obviously, the more you play in the game, the more ranked up your character becomes. But you can also earn a token called Smooth Love Potion. And that token you can actually trade on the market as well. And you never have to sell any of your characters, of course. So this has actually become a revenue stream for a lot of Filipinos, especially, but also like, Vietnamese, like Southeast Asia in general. It's just become a very strong source of revenue, and it actually like upholds entire families. So when people say, NFTs and cryptocurrency doesn't have like any proper utility or any use, I would direct that to all the people in Southeast Asia who are literally using this to survive and thrive, really. So that's kind of like Asia. I mean, you can look at like China as well. It's a little bit different. They're treating NFTs more like property, from what I gather from like my Chinese network. But they don't necessarily like the trading of like NFTs and like fungible tokens. So it's different for every region. But then on the other hand, you look at the U.S., like we're building a lot of technology. The U.S. is responsible for a lot of the new innovations coming out for NFTs and fungible tokens and DeFi for the technological aspect. So it's all different based on what region you go to. And then Europe, I think, is like really focused on like DeFi, like the financial aspect, of course. So like I said, a lot of different things going on.
That is so interesting. I actually never thought to look at it this way. And I mean, I used to live in Asia, in Burma. Obviously, when I lived there, there was there was no talk of anything like this. But I didn't realize how it can affect the whole nation this way. Like, I love NFTs. I've been playing with them a little bit and with crypto, but it never really occurred to me that this can be like a life-changing opportunity for countries such as the Philippines, because obviously the dollar, the USDC goes very far there. And this transaction makes so much sense. I am from Romania. So like my first years here, I used to send money back to Romania. And I remember those fees, like the MoneyGram and Western Union. It was not only annoying, but extremely hard to process. One, it's like the time that you have to spend doing that. And
Right.
the person on the receiver's end, it's like if they have a wrong number or anything like that, it causes a mass destruction. And it's like, where is the money? And I do not want to remember those days. So this is actually very crucial part, beside even the fact that now people are starting to monetize that and actually create a means for themselves. So for us in the Amazon community, and I'm sure other communities as well, we use the help of a lot of Filipinos, VAs and workers, because obviously the dollar again goes very far there.
Yep.
But I'm wondering how this will actually change the future of that, because if, I mean, I'm not saying all Philippines is going to be like rock stars now at trading, but
They might.
I mean, they might. You're right. They might, because it's such an opportunity for them. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I feel like I'm rambling, but it got me thinking, like, this will actually like shape the future of so much going forward. It's like that ripple effect, like one small thing, and then next thing you know, we have a shortage of workers in US. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, I haven't even thought of this
They're going to be
one.
playing Axie Infinity.
Yeah, so with Axie, it's so funny. Like, okay, I want to ask you so many questions, because obviously you're a fountain of knowledge and information. But tell us a little bit about NFTs and why are there so many different ones? Because I know you use it as art, and then you have something like Axie Infinity that has properties and utilities. What do you guys call them? Like, how are those different? And yeah, let's just start with that.
Yeah, there's a lot to dive into, so I'm sure we could go a lot of different paths. But on a very like foundational level, what NFTs really started out as is like just speculative art, and that's primarily because what you can do with NFTs is you can plug in image data, you can plug in videos, you can plug in actual text itself, you can really plug in any sort of media. That is a sort of file into these NFTs, into the metadata itself. But in metadata, just for everybody who is, like listening at home, metadata is basically like just the underlying code for the token. And each one of these tokens can be unique. So, you might have your own NFT, Isabella, that's just the Isabella NFT, and you've got your own artwork on it and everything. And then I've got mine. And they're entirely different NFTs, but my value could be very different than yours. But currently, that's all subjective, because if it's just art, then art is very subjective. You're going to have a different opinion about my NFT, and I'm going to have a different opinion about yours. Now, if you take that a step further and you turn that into a utility NFT and offer actual access for those NFTs, then you've introduced more value to that NFT in general. And so what you can do in the case of what Axie Infinity did is they turned their characters in the game to the NFTs themselves, so that they could actually be traded. So instead of, for example, a lot of people maybe know about like video games, right? Just regular video games. Well, if you play a video game the whole way through, from start to end, and you level up your character and you get all these cool fancy weapons from like quests and stuff like that, you don't get to take that out of the game. You just spent all that time from 0 to 100 completing the entire game, and you got nothing for it. And you can't take it to the next game. You can't sell any of the stuff you got.
You got bragging points to your friends, maybe.
That's it. You got the equivalent of the Xbox achievements, right? You can tell somebody, oh yeah, I got this achievement. Okay, who cares, right? So yeah, I mean, so the old way of games is not ideal, but with Axie, for example, the whole concept is play to earn. So when you play with your character, you can earn on that. When you play with your entire squad, which you have to have 3 at a time to be able to do a game or play against other people, then you'll actually be able to collect, like I said earlier, a smooth love potion, which is also something you can earn on. So you introduce these market mechanics and economies into these games, with NFTs being the representation of like characters or weapons or whatever. And now you've introduced utility, right? And that was kind of like the first phase, or maybe second phase after like the art phase. And we still have a lot of the speculative art out in NFT markets as it is. It's still highly saturated because, it's been a big boom this year, especially. But that's kind of like where things are going, is being able to use your NFTs for actual use cases. And so that's where we come in. So what we do is we allow any NFT, at least on Ethereum and what are called EVM compatible chains. Those are just chains that can interact with Ethereum network, but are different. They're called layer twos. So essentially it's just like you got Ethereum here, you throw another one on top of it. There's your layer two. And so I'm trying to break this down in the easiest way I can imagine, because I know I'm talking to a different audience. Normally I talk to a lot of like crypto and NFT people, so I'm just trying to cater to the right audience.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what we do is we can turn any NFT on those networks into a utility NFT. And what we can do is essentially say, okay, Isabella, you got your NFT and it's got art on it and it looks great and everything, but maybe you want to make like 50 more so that other of your, other friends that you have can enjoy using that NFT for whatever purposes you're going to use for it. So you could say, hey, I have 50 NFTs. I'm going to give you some of my friends. And then what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go through NFTY Labs technology, and I'm going to enable this NFT to let people into an event. And so you can say, hey, I'm going to host my own event, but I only want people who hold my NFT to get into the event. And so our technology would verify that the users who are attending the event have the NFT needed to get in. You'd get a ticket going through our process, our mobile app or our web app, whatever that looks like, for proving that you own that NFT. You take the ticket to the event, you get it scanned, boom, you're in. And so not only have you proved that you own the NFT, which is obviously like a form of like membership or access, you've also proved that you showed up at the event just by having your ticket scanned. And with that, we can actually do really cool things like reward those users for showing up at the event after the event is over. We can do that because we actually, when we scan the QR codes of these provable digital asset ownership, we can also get the wallet address in the process and then know, okay, all of these wallet addresses attended this event, so let's reward them for showing up. And that's just one of the use cases. And so there's a lot more than that. There's many more utilities that you can add to NFTs, but that's just one example. So we can go like a lot of different ways. You could go subscriptions, you can go membership, you can go loyalty rewards, you could go, any one pathway. So if you just pick, I'll just, go in that direction.
I want to ask you at least 100 questions, but I want to go back to some of the things you said that I'm selfishly interested in. So you said, people can use them to enter an event. And are those like digital codes hosted onto NFTY Labs, or it can just be you showing an NFT into like your OpenSea account? Like I own, Patsy, and I have access to their community or.
Right. So what we do is so here's the process. So you would come to our website, niftyconnect.com, for example. That's NFTYconnect.com. And you could go to what's called an event gate. Let's say it's the event gate for Isabella's Rank Bell event, right? And, only 50 to 100 people actually have the NFTs needed to get into that event. And so you go through the event gate. It's going to ask you to access the gate. And so it's going to require you to log in with your wallet. Now, currently, we only, let people log in with their wallet, but we're changing the flow so that we'll be able to add username and password and then just connect wallets afterwards. But currently, you would log in with your wallet. Let's say that's MetaMask or Trust Wallet, any one of the popular wallets. We support all of them. And you log in. And in the process of accessing the gate, what it's going to do, our system is going to check your wallet balance to determine if you have the NFT needed to get into this event. If you do have it, no problem. You get a QR code. That's an off-chain generated ticket with a QR code on it. There's a lot of reasons why we chose to do off-chain rather than on-chain. And by the way, on-chain just means on the blockchain. Off-chain just means off of it, basically. So we chose to do an off-chain generated ticket instead of what some people believe is a better option, to mint an NFT as a ticket. We don't want to do that for a lot of different reasons. So we just represent your asset ownership with that off-chain generated ticket. Of course, you can save that in your phone, save it wherever you want, print it out if you want as well. You can really do whatever you want with it. Then you take that to the event itself and then get that scanned. And then, of course, we can prove that, hey, you are who you say you are. You own this asset. Not only do you own it, but you haven't transferred to anybody else so that they can also get a ticket because we also check that. And then, and then we cross your name off of a cross-reference snapshot of all the holders of these NFTs who are attending the event. And then you're in the event. No problem.
So do you think this will change over time? Because I feel like NFTs are just such a novelty right now, like, going to an event and there's all these whales there, right? You can only get in if you have this NFT. Do you think that will change over time, or do you think it will become even stricter, as in like only those who own this NFT will be able to participate in this country, in this, a small of event that's very concentrated?
Here's what I am positive about. In the future, NFTs were probably going to be used for a lot of different things. You could probably see it for your Social Security. You could see it for your, your driver's license. You could see it for your birth certificate. There's a lot of different things that are probably going to turn into NFTs. And those are just a couple of different means of access. I mean, obviously, think about all the things you need your driver's license for, your Social Security, right? Those are like kind of token gates in their own regard. And so, by the way, I didn't mention token gate. Token gate is basically like a gate that requires a certain token. Boom. Very simple. So like NFTs are fungible tokens. So you're going to have that in the future for sure. But then in the meantime, what you're going to have is a kind of a variety of both. Some communities are going to be, very open and accepting and say, hey, you can purchase any of these NFTs in the market and we'll let you into the event. Like in Axie Infinity's case, for example, there's a lot of Axies NFTs, right? So if you said, hey, I want any Axie holder to be able to come to this event, well, you're looking at a lot of people, right? And so that's kind of exclusive, but also maybe not, depending on like how difficult it is to get your hands on some of these NFTs. So some communities might say, hey, yeah, we're going to make this very exclusive. And some might say, okay, not at all. And there also might be different requirements. You don't have to say that it's just NFTs. You could even say, hey, if you own this much Ethereum or this much of this fungible token, we'll allow you in as well. Because you can do fungible or NFT, either ways. It just really depends on like what your goal is. If your goal is to create inclusivity, then that's what you're going to do. If your goal is to create exclusivity, then you're going to do that too. So you can go either way, and I think it's going to be a hybrid approach, just depending on like what the objective is. I don't think that everybody's going to take the route of exclusivity and just be like, hey, we don't want anybody else to get into this event other than our holders. I think it's just going to be depending on like what the objective is.
Yeah, and you probably saw that at the Miami to Art Basel, right?
Yes.
Was that happening a lot, like that exclusivity? It's like you go to this event and this party only if.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. So nobody had the technology to be able to gate any of those things. What they primarily do, and this is what they did in New York City too for NFTY, is they would simply ask you to hold up a screenshot or something proving that your NFTs in your wallet, or they would ask for your Discord username or something that identifies you in a manual process. But they didn't have our technology where you could literally just have the whole process automated and you just scan the QR code, right?
So they needed you there.
They did, and we actually just rolled it out in Miami. So we didn't necessarily have it ready like at NFT NYC, but it showed us like, hey, these guys really need this technology. Like this is where everything's going. Like the NFT events in general are getting more and more prevalent, and there just isn't the infrastructure needed to be able to provide a lot of this utility that a lot of people are talking about, right? It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to like have that technology to be able to utilize so that you can benefit your community. We're one of the few companies that are actually building this technology, not only for like, us, but for like everybody else. We're trying to onboard the next millions of users and create the flow and make it very simple. And yeah, so yeah.
Do you feel like a lot of people are getting into NFTs and not so much on the service side of it? Because it sounds like what you're creating is very unique than your everyday like trader and is there a reason for not having as many service providers?
Yes, it's difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult, excuse me, to build around blockchain if you don't understand the way that it works. like I've been in the industry since 2017, and I still learn new things every day. I've been learning about like DeFi, through our process, through our company. My CEO and I have learned so much that we just did not know enough about. And it's very, very complex problems that you have to solve. But if you understand blockchain, it's a lot easier to solve those problems. That's one reason that you're not going to see a lot of people come into the service side. Although you're seeing more, there's more and more like people learning how to develop in Solidity, which is the code that most of these networks take. It was developed around Ethereum, and so Solidity is very popular now. And so there's more and more people coming in from that side. Of course, more just developers in general, and then more entrepreneurs, of course. But overall, it's not the most glamorous, I guess, life or thing to do in crypto. The glamorous thing to do is to be like an influencer or a trader, and pretend that you make money, and then your community thinks that you make money, and then of course you end up making money because so that whole process, right? Like the Forex traders, like those guys. There's a lot of those people like in the industry.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in those industry. I know a lot of them personally. But yeah, we decided to just kind of move in a different direction. We wanted to build legitimate products and services that people can use, and be proud about what we built too. So I think you're going to see more and more, but it's just so slow. It's much slower to have the technology built than it is for the people to come. Like the people are coming now. They're all coming for NFTs and the art, the speculative side, but they don't know anything about like the next phase. They don't know where all this is going necessarily. They can speculate about it and have ideas and whatnot, but they're not necessarily like saying, okay, well, I'm going to build this, because they don't really know.
What makes an NFT successful? Successful meaning, obviously not everybody can be Cryptopunks and Bored Apes and all that, but why them? Was it that they're early? Was it that why them and not me creating a collection here in my office?
Yeah, well, great question. So Cryptopunks example, it's all about time, and also like first mover advantage. Mm-hmm. So Cryptopunks, I think, started back in I know it was before 2018. So it was definitely before a lot of the NFT hype really began. And most of the hype is actually just only recently begun in like 2021. So before that, like it was just kind of like, Cryptopunks or NFTs, whatever, like they're generated pixel art and they're unique. So what, right? It didn't really make a lot of sense to people. And so they wouldn't purchase them. And that was kind of like the first, ERC 721. And by the way, ERC 721 is a token standard or an NFT standard that is true non-fungibility. Whereas another token standard, ERC 1155, is a semi-fungible token standard. So the first real project to like do it successfully as a generated pixel art project was like Cryptopunks. And so because of their age, it's like fine wine. The older the wine, the better. And so that's the same case for blockchain projects, because you got to think the blockchain is based on time, right? The longer time passes against a project that has kind of been around and it's like there's nothing wrong with it, then people are going to start to pick up on the older projects than the new ones, because it's basically how it works in blockchain. You want to look for the older stuff than the new, for a lot of different reasons, but yeah. So that's Cryptopunks. Then you look at Bored Ape Yacht Club. They got big in 2021, and I think they literally just started in 2021. Because they were another like successful generative NFT project that a lot of people caught on to early, and it was unique enough. And each NFT was unique enough, had their own like traits. You can actually go to like OpenSea and see a lot of these traits that these NFTs have. Of course, that is all stuff that's like in the metadata. It all changes based on NFT, which one you have. There's some more rare traits than others, and there's obviously more common traits than others. And it obviously
depends. But it's just art for
It's
board
just
ape.
art.
It's just art. Like they have no utilities. It's not like you can use it in a project and like Axie and make money and collect. It's
Yeah.
just pure
Well,
art.
let me explain why it got so big. So
Okay.
this is a new thing, and it's pretty cool when you think about this. So, because of COVID, what happened is a lot of the physical networking died, right? No talking to people in person. Like you can't even, like you definitely aren't going to events in COVID, right? Now, what happened for the virtual events is they skyrocketed. A lot of the virtual networking got very big. So what Bored Ape Yacht Club ended up kind of becoming is a pseudonymous social identity. Because what you can do, so if I put a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT as my profile picture on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, everybody who knows what that is going to assume that I own that NFT. And then if you know the value of those NFTs, you kind of know my net worth, or at least a part of it. Because right now, each Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT is going for about $200,000 minimum, right?
Right.
So if I own one of these things, I either got in early and I was smart as an investor, or I bought one. Either way, I don't know what's more impressive, right? If I'm a bystander, just kind of seeing this guy's profile picture. But so you know a little bit about that person before you even meet them. So now I know, okay, you're into NFTs. You got at least 200 grand that you can liquidate at any moment, right? Because you can sell that. You like apes. And you're kind of
I would say that's probably the last.
Yeah.
The least on the like people think, oh my god, like everybody's just into apes now. I'm like, no.
Not really. Yeah, it's really just the asset. And if you have a rare one, obviously, then okay, you're even more wealthy, right? Mm-hmm. So it tells a lot about yourself without having to say anything to anyone. Mm-hmm. And so people instantly know who you are and they want to network with you, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're just kind of like, you're just another face in a sea of other faces. You have to be able to differentiate yourself on the internet. And so this is what this has kind of become, a pseudonymous social identity that you can use to represent your net worth in some ways, but also what you're into, your interests and whatnot. And it just helps with the networking process a lot easier online. And that's why it makes a lot of sense to translate that to physical events as well, which is what we've done, because it's already being used as that virtual networking identity. We want to be able to translate that into the real world now that events are back open and whatnot. So that's that's kind of a rundown on maybe why Bored Ape Yacht Club has gotten bigger. Now what they've done recently is they've focused on trying to build a better roadmap because they got big. Everybody's bought in, and the other thing is, I didn't mention this. So being a part of the Bored Ape Yacht Club might offer you other opportunities in terms of like real networking or even digital, in the way of, maybe celebrity access or even athlete access. A lot of you might have seen, like Steph Curry, I think, bought a Bored Ape. I'm trying to think of all the people who have bought one, but yeah, all these different athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, just tons of people with, a high net worth have purchased their own Bored Ape Yacht Club or Cryptopunk NFTs to be able to access that network, because it is a high net worth network to access, regardless of if you got in earlier or if you're there now. Like, you've got money clearly. Yeah, you can liquidate at any moment's notice and be able to have that money. And so that's very valuable to a lot of people networking. So yeah, that's kind of like a high level rundown of like the pseudonymous social identity that's kind of transpired.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously, the internet age has brought upon a lot of, like fake gurus. And, we talked about that a little bit in the beginning with like Forex traders. And now you see a lot of like crypto bots. Not that they're all bad or whatever. It's just, people are looking for opportunities. But it's interesting to me, the fact that like the video with the Lambo now has transpired into I'm owning this CryptoPunk, but actually that this person actually owns it. One, you can track it on the blockchain. Whereas somebody's Lambo, you don't know if they rented it for the day or they're just doing it for the shoot. So it's like it's an age of like, okay, now you can verify that this person is for real. And it's, as materialistic as that sound, it's almost needed in a world of like, everybody's just, you don't know who's who.
Right.
And this is a way of verifying that. And again, depends on how people are going to actually receive this into your life, but I think it's pretty clever, hanging out with Steph Curry and what's the blonde guy, newly boxer, you know who I'm talking about.
You talking about Jake Paul?
Yes, thank you. I'm like, Paul something. I'm like, I know he has some, and
Yeah.
he's very deep into it, and he talks about it. So like being able to hang out with some of these people because now you're part of the club, and
Yeah.
a lot of like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in the Amazon business, but I'm also outside of it a lot. Like, I love NFTs. Like most people are not even talking about it. I'm also part of like this big masterminds that are like 100,000 a year, and it's like, that's my way of differentiating and like actually getting access to this like billionaires.
Right.
And this
Right.
is exactly
That's
the
your token gate.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you got 100 grand to stay with me at the table. You
Yep.
must have at least that
Yeah.
amount to like
Exactly.
throw away.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting how this came to be, and I'm down for it. Like, I obviously, like, when I met you guys, I'm like, oh my god, we need to have a conversation,
Yeah.
because I feel like this is the future. Like, even the ability to verify somebody on a blockchain, like, are you who you say you are? It's so easy. And then again, you get all the utilities of like being able to transfer money within seconds to like other countries. And then you have the art aspect of it, which is coming up with this amazing community of artists that maybe before they wouldn't have been paid for their time, or maybe after their passing, after their dad is like, oh yeah, that was a great artist, like, let's make that famous now. Whereas with NFTs is like, how can you make your art work now and gain from it for the rest of your life, which is another aspect I love about NFTs. Like, if you're an artist, having those like royalties, right? I don't know
Yeah,
if
we
they
didn't
have.
even talk about that yet. Yeah.
I know we haven't, but I just want to go back again to the question, what makes an NFT so popular? I mean, we get it. It's like the age. Actually, I have a question on that as well. Would you say, let's just create an example. Would you say that NFTs that are created today, even though they're not the Cryptopunks, is just like, a simple artist chilling at home, creating some art, does a collection of like, let's say 100, and they don't have the community behind them. Maybe it's a 15-year-old who has like 5 friends at school. You know what I mean? Would the age impact the value of this collection just based on he's going to be there in 2030, let's say, and now it's 2021? Would the age of the NFT be enough to be something like this?
It would be something. It would be worth something. So time in the blockchain is always worth something. So just for example, there was another project that got revived recently. I think they made it in like 2017. It was called ETH Rocks. So ETH Rocks, like Ethereum Rocks. Okay. Literally just a picture of a rock. I'm not even a real rock, like a cartoon rock. Okay?
Well, this sounds better than the collection of nothing. Do you remember that?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, you have to look that up. And I don't want to, please remember what you're gonna say. But like, I remember reading about the collection of nothing, where this like person took a picture of nothing, and just to prove a point that is not always the case of like how pretty the art is, but it's like the community behind it, and sold out like I don't know how many millions. But anyway, so ETH Rocks.
Yeah, so ETH Rocks. Essentially they were a project from like 2017, and after the NFT hype, like early 2021, a lot of people were just kind of looking for the next project, and so they started going back to the older ones and just focusing on kind of pumping those. And so, obviously when one person decides to go after something, other people catch on, especially if you're paying attention to Twitter. And so it's just kind of like a, social wave, that just goes back to these older projects. But that's not going to be like the primary thing that like keeps an NFT project alive. Like if you just don't touch it for years, obviously like it could, but you don't want to rely on that. What I would say is, so just to go back to the point of like utility being the primary factor for any new collection coming out, or the primary value for any new collection coming out, and at least I think it should be, is there's a project that we're working with called Shrimp Society, and they're doing NFTs on Solana. And so what they are, so the original Shrimp Society in Miami, they're essentially a networking events scene, and they have all these different events they throw around Miami. They're well connected with a lot of different venues, even like locations and stores, like coffee shops, for example. And so they already had that community built, and what they wanted to do is they wanted to bring NFTs into the mix, to now allow people to have actual representation of their membership in the Shrimp Society. And so, obviously the next step for them is they want to use our technology to, gate all of these events that they're going to be throwing with these shrimp NFTs. But they started out as just like primarily focusing on the NFTs as membership cards or event passes, basically. That was the whole idea. But additionally, you can also get discounts at like coffee shops, like I mentioned. So I think they do like a 20% discount if you just show your shrimp NFT to the coffee shop. So, you can imagine there's gonna be like a ton of Shrimp Society NFT holders, going to that coffee shop, spending their money just to be able to get that discount, but primarily also just to be able to do something cool with their NFT. I mean, wouldn't you want to like just try to get as much value as you can out of the NFT that you own, since it's also a digital asset, but it also gives you perks? And so that's why it's becoming, very popular. And that's kind of how they use it. And we would be able to facilitate like all of those things automatically, like the discounts. We could even do like, hey, prove that you own this NFT. We give you a certain coupon code returned. We can do that. Of course, the event gating, we can do that too. And so that's what I think is going to be like the primary focus moving forward. And so like even for art collections, like if you want to do art and just primarily art, that's fine. You can do that. And people will buy your art for what it is, especially if you build a community over time, an organic community that is. But I don't think that, that should be the primary factor or the only factor in building an NFT collection now. I think to be able to compete against a lot of these existing artists that are kind of saturating the market, you have to have some sort of utility that's like unique to you or just unique to your community, right? And just kind of go from there. And the other thing is like you need to focus on like building an organic community. That's something that we really worked hard to do. Is find people who really believe in what we're doing, build that community up, and then just focus on like rewarding that community over and over and over again, because then those people become loyal supporters of you. Then they tell their friends, hey, you should join this community. This is all the benefits that I get, and so forth. And then of course you have the networking compounding effect. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, again, so many questions related.
I know, there's so many things we could go into.
It keeps going.
Yeah.
But I noticed that with the NFT community and crypto in general, Discord and Twitter are like very, very important. And like people are almost moving away from Facebook and Instagram towards this, including myself. I love Facebook, I love Instagram. I opened my Twitter account. I checked a few days ago, like 2011. I went on there once. Like I don't use Twitter.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like a whole thing like, oh my God, I have to get on Twitter. Like, what is this madness? So, and why do you think that is? And again, this is just like stupid question, but like, why?
Yeah. Well, so Twitter primarily is one of the biggest social platforms for crypto people, because it really started out as kind of the go-to forum, if you will, even for like early Bitcoin miners, or even one of the, what we believe is one of the creators themselves, Hal Finney. He even used Twitter. I mean, you can go back all the way to like 2010, 2011, 2012, where you can see like old tweets of supposedly one of the creators, Hal Finney. That's what a lot of people believe. It's kind of a theory because nobody really knows who the real creator of Bitcoin is. But you can see stuff like that. And so that's kind of how it began. It began as like a forum for everybody to talk and whatnot. There were other platforms early on, like like the Bitcoin white paper site. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was one of the forums that they would use. And then just kind of like all trends, essentially moved over to Twitter. And so that's kind of just how it all started. And then really, I found out about crypto on Twitter too. Like I found out about Litecoin from a friend of mine in 2017 because he was tweeting about LTC. I was like, what the hell is that? Let me go find out. And so, yeah, Twitter just became a very like nice forum and hub for a lot of the what we call crypto Twitter talk. And there's also like smaller niches where essentially you can just kind of always have the same people in your loop. Like you can have Bitcoin Twitter. If you only want to have Bitcoin conversations, well, follow all the Bitcoin people and only interact with those guys, and you'll literally have an echo chamber. If you want like all crypto NFT people, okay, well, follow those people and you'll have an echo chamber of crypto and NFT people. So it's very easy to kind of create the echo chambers. It's probably one of the reasons. But that's not to say that I don't think a lot of this stuff is going to transition to Facebook and Instagram, primarily because, Facebook, they just changed their name to Meta. They're going like super deep into the metaverse. They're probably going to have like very permissioned metaverses and all of that, but it's still going to be a metaverse nonetheless. And then you look at like Instagram, they're probably going to open up their own like marketplace for NFTs too. So I don't think that you necessarily have to transfer or kind of transition into Twitter if you don't want to. I think it's a great place to definitely interact with anybody in NFTs and crypto. It's like that's where the main hub is. But I do think that, as time goes on, we're just going to see more of these, like Facebook, Instagram kind of assimilate into the NFT world, especially because that's just kind of like the way that these platforms are going.
What about ETH domains? What do you think about those? Why are they important?
They're cool. So ETH domains, so there's a couple of different types of ETH domains. So there's ENS, which is Ethereum name service. That's one company that essentially what they do is you can use an ETH domain, which is essentially just a wallet address, but in text characters, to essentially have like digital real estate on the blockchain. Okay, so not only that, you can also essentially register like the land rights or the naming rights to your brand or your business or whatever that looks like. The same way that .coms, are getting scooped up by domain brokers, the same thing is happening with the blockchain. And so, first of all, it'd be a great idea to like get your brand name or your company or even your personal name as an ETH domain before anybody else gets it, because you might be spending an arm and a leg just to get it later on when you finally need it. So I would, look into that for sure. But then there's also, you can have multiple wallet addresses within that wallet address. So if you say, hey, send me some money to Tytaninc.eth, you can actually look that domain up on the registry, and you can find all the different wallet addresses. You can even find like a Litecoin address, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and like more information. It's kind of like that digital land or digital real estate that just kind of holds your place in the blockchain, so to speak. So there's ENS, that's .eth names. Then you have on the other side Unstoppable Domains, who we're good friends with the team over there. They do like .crypto, .dao, .nft, and a bunch of other different like .finance, a couple of different ones that you can get, but they're like different types of domains, but they process or they work similarly to the ENS domains. So the way I look at it is like, a lot of this stuff, especially with the domains, it's just digital real estate. Would you want to miss out on the physical real estate, pump, so to speak, if there was another one, or would you, capture the value early on before it gets crazy like it is today? You'd probably say, yeah, I would definitely get in on any sort of real estate opportunities. The problem is you can't anymore. It's too scarce. Everything's inflated, right? Well, in the world of blockchain and in the digital real estate, you can. You have the opportunity. You can go right now and purchase as many ENS or .crypto domains as you want. And essentially, if you want to hold on to those for a year or two or three, somebody's probably going to come knocking on your door and trying to buy it from you one day. And the cool part is you'll be able to sell that on the secondary market, and you don't have to go through a domain broker or GoDaddy or anything like that. You literally just list it on like OpenSea for whatever price you want to sell it for. And if somebody wants to buy it, they pay the gas, they buy it from you, you get the money. That's that simple.
I love it. Yeah, I got a really good one.
Oh,
A really good one on ENS, and I already, it's so funny. Like I bought it like a few days ago, and I'm already getting messages like on Instagram, like, "Oh, I
yeah.
see you have that. Like, would you sell it for this much and this much?" And I'm like, I am holding on to this
Nice,
until the company comes to me. And
nice.
yeah, that was a good one. Obviously, I got my name, which I think makes everything so much easier.
Mhm.
Like you said, when somebody wants to like transfer you crypto, rather than giving them that 41 digit code,
Yeah.
they just type in Isabella Hamilton, that ETH, and it's like, oh my God, so much easier.
Easy.
And for those that don't understand like how this works, like this is not a domain that you can build a website on. It's more of a passport type of thing, right?
Mhm.
Is that how would you say it?
So technically, you could build a website on it, but not through like traditional means. Like it's not like GoDaddy's gonna be like, oh yeah, like could
Right.
you redirect your ETH domain, DNS settings? That's not how it works. Now you can use it for decentralized databases like IPFS. If you were to host your entire site on a decentralized server, then you could connect it to your ETH domain and use that as an address that you could use. Now, most people don't really do that. They primarily just use it as kind of like what you said, Isabella, is like it's just a placeholder for you or your brand, and like kind of more information. They're going to develop more around like ETH domains for sure. Like you're going to see a lot more platforms accept those, especially as kind of like we've been talking about, like membership. If you own an ETH domain, well, then it kind of proves who you are in a sense, or at least an idea of who you might be. And so there's going to be like more websites that probably use the ETH domains as like some sort of login that reflects statistics or data, in a portal or something like that. So yes and no, you can use ETH names for websites.
Yeah. Well, good answer. Good answer, Ty.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Like we only got a few minutes, and I am not done with the questions. And I know I can ask you in private, but I want those listeners to also find out, because this is so important. But let's
Mhm.
end with this. Like, what are some possibilities that you see in the future for NFTs beside, just art and like the game part of it? And because I know you can come up with like 100 ideas and solutions every
Mhm.
day, because this is so new, right?
Yeah.
But do you have an idea of like, what do you think people might use them for in the future?
I think the biggest thing that's happening right now is brands are starting to wake up, like big brands. Like only recently we've had Taco Bell, McDonald's, Pepsi, Budweiser, Pizza Hut Canada, Charmin, just to name a few, right? All these big like Web 2 brands, as we call them, are starting to come over to the world of NFTs because one reason I think is because of the regulations around NFTs. It's kind of clear in the way of like what they are. They're digital collectibles, and so they're not necessarily like securities, especially because if they're unique and they have utility, then they would pass the what is it called, the Howey test, against the securities. And so a lot of these big brands are very friendly to that. They want to be able to participate and capture, Web3, audience or market share, especially because they don't want to miss this wave. They can't really participate on the social token side, which is like fungible tokens, like, those are securities for sure.
Right.
You can't get around that. But NFTs offers a new kind of strategy. And so I think you're going to see a lot more brands come into the play, or come into NFTs in general. And where I see NFTs going is being used for a lot of different use cases. But by default, I think some easy ones are, okay, physical and digital event access. And what I'm talking about in the digital is I'm talking about like metaverse, like virtual events in the metaverse, right? So you can attend events at like concert venues in the metaverse. I mean, you can literally put your Oculus on and like go see a concert in a virtual world. So that's like one thing. Obviously,
And
physical.
you're all sitting front row.
Yeah,
Everybody's sitting front row.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so everybody gets front row seats, you get access and whatnot. So that's one thing. Obviously, physical event access is another. Loyalty rewards is something that we actually have done, which is pretty cool. So we actually have our own access passes, NFT access passes. We launched those very early on with our MVP of our products to be able to use our products. You actually had to own the NFT to be able to beta test because that's the way our product works. And so we did that early on. We have a lot of supporters that bought a couple of those. And then what we did is we have enabled those NFTs to collect loyalty rewards. So we have a Nifty token, a fungible token as well that we use for rewards. It's a utility token. Our ethos is actually access to earn. So when you access different gates and whatnot, you can earn the process of doing that by creating organic engagement. But so for our NFT access pass holders, they get rewarded every single month for the next 18 months, a certain percentage of a total amount given to each NFT. And so they're actually earning just by holding on to an NFT. Wherever that NFT goes is where the reward goes. So if they send it, if they sell it to their friend, or if they sell it in general or send it away from their wallet, then they no longer get the reward. But they could sell it on the open market. And currently they go for about 25 grand each NFT. So you could sell your NFT early, right? But the total in rewards is more than 25 grand. So you kind of have to pick, like, what do you want? You want the short-term gains, or do you want to hold on to it for another 18 months and see what happens? So that was another thing that we did, loyalty rewards. That a lot of companies are going to move in that direction, because you could just reward them with like Ethereum or USDC, any one of those native tokens out there. That's not illegal. It's totally legal and easy to do. The other thing I see is, obviously games are going to pick up a lot more NFTs. I think even mainstream AAA brands are going to start integrating NFTs in their games. That's very simple to do, really. All you have to do is attach an item ID within the game to an NFT. And then, of course, you can kind of bring those outside of the game and sell them on secondary markets and whatnot, or use them for utility purposes. And then one of the, I guess, last things I'm trying to think of NFTs will be used for is, what's a good one? I mean, they can be used for music. They can be used for videos. Another idea I actually had recently was, for like short film creators, a lot of times you'll do these short films and you'll want to, create some sort of fundraising for that. Well, what if you just took the entire film, or at least like a teaser of the film, and you cut it up into pieces, and each, NFT has a piece of that short film teaser. So ownership, right, in the project.
You would have to get access to that. Like, you can't just do it yourself. Like, let me take the matrix and take like screenshots of these frames. You actually have to have ownership in those rights, correct?
Right. And so you'd have to be the original creator, right? Yeah. So that's another thing that's very important in the value of NFTs, is like the original creator. That's kind of like the domain, right, that we were talking about earlier. Like, if you can prove that you are who you say you are, well, obviously that's more valuable than like, Jimmy over here who pretends to be this project, right? So you have to like prove that you are who you say you are, like you're the original creator, and you are selling these pieces of this film as a means of like access or whatever utilities they want to offer through that. And then that helps fundraise the entire film, right? Mm-hmm. And now you own a piece of it. You can, maybe come to the event and kind of put your piece together with someone else. Like, hey, I have this clip and you have this clip. And that's just like, that's like 5 seconds of the entire video or something like that, So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, but yeah, it's all very cool.
I love it. I want to have you back on maybe in a few months.
Yeah, for sure.
When is your next round of like a free nifty tokens? Because I need to sign up. I totally missed out on that. I had no idea you guys existed at that time, or that NFT existed probably at that time, but I don't want to miss the train.
Yeah. Well, so we have quite a few things coming up. We have some pretty big events too, and some big partners that we're working with in the next year. The biggest thing to keep an eye out, if you want to be a part of our new NFT project that's coming out soon, just keep an eye out for Nifty Blocks, NFTY BLOX, Nifty Blocks. Okay. It's going to be an interoperable cross-chain NFT project. So all that means is like we're going to be operating on not only Ethereum but other networks, which is very nobody does it basically. And we're not afraid to do that because we just kind of know what we're doing in that regard. So that project's gonna be coming out pretty soon. We'll have a ton of events throughout 2022, Miami, California, even New York possibly. And then also like internationally, we'll have some stuff in like Turkey, Nigeria, hopefully Southeast Asia. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, I mean, if you guys just want to follow along, like just join us in the journey and keep up to date about what we're doing. We're NFTY Labs on like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube even. So yeah, and then me, Tytaninc on Twitter or really any social media. So yeah.
I love it. Well, that was my next question. Just tell people where they can find you. But you did a great job at that. And I definitely want to come to your events. And hopefully, because now we're friends, I get a 1 minute head start for Nifty Blocks. And, that's so exciting. You guys are doing so many great things. And I look forward to having you on, hopefully in a few months. I want to follow your journey. I know you're very close to me, so we'll definitely stay in touch. But also I want the listeners to, be able to follow up maybe like 6 months, like what's Nifty working on? And, I, as I said in the beginning, this is mostly like an Amazon podcast. We have a lot of listeners, but I think this is so important to have this conversation early, even though maybe 80% of what we discussed here, most people won't know. But I feel like just bringing it into that existence, and it's like, at least it's something that they're hearing. And for those that may be interested in possibly participate, like first time I heard about it, I'm like, this is it. Like, this is my jam.
Yeah.
Even though I love Amazon, like I could see the future of what NFTs are and where we're moving as a society, as a culture, not only US, but like the whole continent, the whole, world. So
I think just to maybe add to what you just said, if your audience is wanting to get the leg up on the competition, in terms of digital goods, just think of NFTs as just like another product that you can sell along with what you're currently selling, and maybe even more of an opportunity to differentiate yourself from the competition. They're digital goods, digital collectibles. You wouldn't look at Pokemon cards differently than you would NFTs. It's just now, digital collectibles are a little bit more versatile than Pokemon cards. So that's it.
Yeah. And so many other things. But thank you, Ty. Please say hi to Lawrence for me. And we will talk very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.